Hello, Sam. Welcome to the Ideas Lab podcast.
Hello, John. Thank you for having me here.
Really glad you're here. We are friends. We met a few years ago, and we've been in a peer mastermind group that you set up with another friend, Chris. And I thought it would be interesting, since you are a serial entrepreneur, and I think you said you have something like 6 businesses. I might ask what those are in a moment. I thought it might be interesting. We just have a kind of general conversation as a little bit similar to what we do when we're together, just talking as normal friends, rather than trying to have some clever structured conversation.
Just riffing around. Yeah. Riffing.
From how far away are you in Windermere from London? A long way, about 50 years.
From London, is that it then? Yeah, about 50 years, a passport and a nosebleed.
Yeah. Windermere sounds nice. I like that you do these daily. Are you still doing these daily Facebook lives where you show the view from outside from your back garden?
Not the regular ones. I was doing a news at 10 every day during lockdown to keep me sane. I'm not sure if it did the same for my audience, so I don't do those anymore. But I do tend to, if I go up, we call them fells. You might call them big hills or mountains. If I go up a fell with my dog, then I might do a little live from the top of the fell. So people like you, vicariously from your lovely apartment overlooking the canal, can enjoy my views without actually getting off the sofa.
That's the kind of way I like to absorb nature personally, just, while sitting down looking at it. Yeah, so it's a very nice location. And tell us about these businesses you run. You said you think you have about 6. You didn't sound very sure when I asked you before we started recording.
No, we've got a couple on the back burner. I started off with one in 2004 and I've been collecting them ever since. And what has occurred to me
so wait a minute, what's the first one?
It doesn't really...
First, 2004, what was that one?
First one was Home Truths.
And what is that?
So Home Truths, HOMETRUTHS. So that is a website dedicated to helping people sell their homes more effectively.
Okay, that's cool.
So that gets me a lot of PR. So I don't actually want to get rid of that, because even though I haven't monetized it, it gets me a load of PR that I then sprinkle around the other businesses. So I can say, as seen in the Times, as seen on BBC, that kind of stuff. So that works really well for me. It's a bit of a positioning website. And then from there, that was 2004. And in 2010, I pivoted to looking after estate agents and coaching estate agents on how to grow their agencies and have a better and provide a better experience for their clients, because obviously I'd come from the consumer facing world. So I was teaching them what the consumers had told me for the last 6 years. So I've been running that until now, actually. I'm just literally beginning to wind that down a little bit, because 3 years ago, we opened our own estate agency, which I'd been threatening to do for many years. Finally did it, to a big sort of fanfare in the industry press. A lot of people, were very vocal either way on that. Who does she think she is, to I wish her well, and everything in between. You can imagine. I think the actual headlines got something like, 105 comments or something ridiculous. So that was 2017 with my son-in-law, Phil.
Yeah.
So the son-in-law bit makes for a little bit of banter and a few raised eyebrows when we go around and see people in houses and they're trying to work out what the relationship between us and why I'm going out on a valuation with a 28-year-old. So that's fun. And then because I'm absolutely passionate about marketing, I'm a marketer at my core, I developed a system for producing high quality content marketing for Ashdown Jones, which is our agency. And then agents started saying, can I buy that marketing? And we're like, actually, business number 5, 4, lost track, marketing agency. So now we have a marketing agency called Firewave that is dedicated to providing content, offline content for estate agents. And that is going gangbusters, absolutely phenomenally, really, really good. We took on 30 new clients during lockdown, which is just, a bit weird, really.
So this is a deal where, because one of my clients, I think, is subscribing, and the deal is they pay a certain amount of money per month, and you put out content for them, for their estate agency. Is that right?
Yeah, we do. We don't actually put it, we put it into a holding pen, a bit like a Hootsuite, and they can schedule from there, an app, to all intents and purposes, or they can just download the whole lot and use them wherever they want, because certain social platforms like Instagram don't really like third-party integration. It's much better to post natively. So we did that, and then we realized actually they need teaching how to use that. So we do a lot of teaching with that, which is wrapped up in a subscription. And then we are growing beyond that as well. Every time, I suppose the takeaway is I love building businesses. Not a very good finisher completer. It's not my nature. I like starting. I like processing, and then I like buggering off and doing something else. So that's why the serial bit comes in. But each time we are actually just selling to the same people. We're just selling in different ways. So we're selling to homeowners who want to sell more effectively, but predominantly our main market is to sell to estate agents who want to market themselves like we do and more effectively. So it helps us up our game, and then we teach and supply to people who want the same.
That's
so
clever.
It's a virtual circle, really.
Yeah, I like that. I remember Nick Williams telling me years ago, he said, if 3 people come up to me and say, and ask if I do something and I'm not currently doing it, I start it. And that sounds like kind of what happened with your, with Firewave, where people say, well, like, your marketing's really good. Can you do something like that for us? And, you know, if enough people ask, maybe you should start providing it. And you spun off a whole business.
And sometimes you don't notice. Yeah, sometimes it just kind of passes you by. You go, oh, yeah, I don't do that at the moment. And then you think, could I do it as a consultancy? Yeah, that'd be too expensive for them, too time consuming for me. And actually, yes, you do have to ramp up to provide it to lots of people. We suddenly had to scale massively. You know, we suddenly had to have an app that delivered it because we didn't want to deliver it. We suddenly had to get a writer and a graphic designer and systems and processes and all that stuff. So we had to commit to it. And for a year, it bumbled along because we were trying to run Ashdown Jones at the same time. And then I took myself out of Ashdown Jones, took myself out of my coaching predominantly, stuck myself at this sort of head of growth of Firewave. And now that's doing amazingly. And that will probably be, so Ashdown Jones is going to be close to £500,000 turnover yearly in only its 3rd year. And Firewave is going to catch that up in about 6 months, which would be amazing.
Wow.
And then we can put in a marketing director or an MD or whatever we choose to do, BD, to grow that even more. So it's very exciting. But as I was saying to you just off air, we've used every business to bootstrap the next.
Yeah.
So Home Truths paid for Sam Ashdown and the website. Sam Ashdown paid for Ashdown Jones. Ashdown Jones paid for Firewave. Firewave is going to then pay for the next iteration. And so it goes on.
Do you know what the next iteration is? You might not say, but I mean.
Of course I do, yeah. No, I've got 2. We've got one that's on hold at the moment, which is AJ Retreats, which is a spin-off of Ashdown Jones, because most estate agents run a lettings business as well, and we don't. It's a lot of work, and we haven't got enough transactional volume here. There's just not enough lets. All the lets here are holiday lets. So when people started saying to us, I want to buy that house off you, but I want to turn it into a holiday let, we've started saying we can do that for you. And so we have now basically whatever you would want to call it, service accommodation, holiday let business, Airbnb business. It's the same principle where we help somebody generate holiday letting income from their house in whatever way they need to, whether it's to furnish it, to manage it, to clean it, to advertise it, whatever it is. So that's called AJ Retreats.
So does this involve you working 24 hours a day, Sam?
I don't think 24 hours are enough, actually, John. I tend to work 26, but I realize I'm on borrowed time because I don't know where the 2's coming from at the moment. I feel like I'm always in deficit. It's true. I got up at 5:30 this morning to write content, but by the time it gets to the evening, my brain is completely a mess of pulp. So I don't try and do anything in the evening. So I'm a morning person. It is about systems and process and getting the right staff in. And I know that's easy to say and not easy to do. And we've made some colossal mistakes along the way, very expensive mistakes. But ultimately, systems and processes are what carry you through. We discovered yesterday, as I was trying to do something, we didn't have what we call a task sheet. Some people might call it a process sheet on that particular thing. And so Tilly's doing that right now, my assistant, to try and get that sorted, because that was a hole in our system. So it's a system that breaks, not a person, is my belief.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. So this is like, as you start to hire people, you know, you can quickly become frustrated. If you can hear a strange noise, it's because there's somebody cleaning the window over there. I don't know if you can actually see. I think he's over that corner.
I saw them on your
I posted it on Facebook that he's
cool. Yeah, I like
he's
that.
abseiling
Social distancing window cleaner.
Yeah, about 6 floors up, and it's a little bit noisy. Yeah, so when you start employing people, you know, you very quickly realize you can get frustrated and go, God, why do they do it like this? Idiot. And then you go, oh, maybe I didn't actually tell them how to do it. Or maybe, you know, the way I told them how to do it actually wasn't really very clear unless you can read my mind. And then you start realizing the value. Because the interesting thing in the entrepreneurial journey, because I wanted to kind of get your advice for people right at the beginning of this, is that I was thinking this morning, it's like a learning journey, and you're always learning new skills. So things become exciting, which previously you never thought about or just sounded really boring. So as you go further on, like paying attention to the numbers and finance and who's a good accountant becomes like really, really interesting subject. Whereas at the beginning, well, for a lot of creative people, that's not really what excites them. They want to make money, but they don't want to kind of look at balance sheets and stuff like that. And then I think processes is one of those things. So at the beginning, it's not kind of thing why most people don't rush into entrepreneurship because they want to start writing process sheets or task sheets, which are things that describe exactly how to do a task. But it becomes this thing that is really important, because otherwise, if you didn't have those, Sam, you'd be doing everything yourself at this point, or people would be doing it and messing it up, and they wouldn't know how to get it right.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at McDonald's. You know, it's the obvious choice to point to, because, you know, if you went into 100 McDonald's, you'd expect to get 100 burgers all exactly the same. You wouldn't be able to tell where you were in the world by the burger you got, and that's consistency. And that comes down to, at some point, somebody's decided how to make the perfect burger, documented it, and then taught other people how to follow it. So when you join McDonald's, I would imagine there isn't a huge amount of unique training. It's all training that they've delivered 1 million times across the globe that they know works. And the sooner we can get onto the systems and the processes that work with our businesses, the sooner we can scale. You can't scale a business that's not processed. It's just impossible, because you're constantly looking for unique ways to deal with things. So when I've got an assistant in the Philippines, and when I say to her, did you do such and such? And she says no, I say, my first question is, what does the task sheet say? We'll go, okay, there's a step missing in the task sheet.
Right.
Let's go back to the task sheet and do it. And you have enough task sheets, you've got a manual. You've got a saleable business.
Yeah, that's interesting. We have an assistant in the Philippines as well. And he's currently managed by Ben, who's my kind of right-hand guy. But there's, so if someone's at the beginning of this journey and has an idea for a business, is there advice for you kind of that comes under that category of stuff I wish I knew when I started out? Is there anything you'd really want to get across to people? Obviously, systems and processes is quite important, but is there something else even earlier than that?
I wish I'd read a book called Screw Work, Let's Play.
Yeah.
Because apparently that tells you exactly how to get your idea off the ground, and then you're not just flailing around in the dark.
Have you read it?
I've read parts of it.
Okay.
My son's reading it at the moment, and he rates it very highly. Yeah. And then he said, I think you should read it, Mum. And I went, excuse me, don't you think I'm a little bit beyond that? And he went, well, look at this page. And I went, oh, that's really interesting. I think I might read that. Yeah, so there you go. That's my snob finally coming out.
Oh, that's good then. Yeah. No, there's some good stuff. Yeah. So aside from recommending people read my books, what else would you recommend?
I think when I see people making mistakes, because if I'm going to be really honest, there's not much that I wish I'd done differently, because the mistakes have all added to the overall beautiful tapestry that now my business is. But when I see other people making mistakes, I think the biggest mistake they make is thinking they can do it part-time and thinking that such thing as a passive income exists.
Yes.
I think those two things should be wiped off the face of the earth. I don't think passive and income can ever go in one sentence. Not if you want the income to be more than £1.50 a week. I think you just broke some people's hearts there. But I mean, I quote property as being one of the things that is closest, because I agree, passive income is more or less nonsense. Probably the closest you get is owning property, doesn't it? Because I own a property that I used to live in and I rented out, and although having said that, they've decided to just not answer me and pay any rent at the moment. But, not
normally.
That passive then.
But,
not that passive then.
No, exactly. But month on month, they generally pay the rent, which is very kind of them. And I generally let them stay there. So that's the closest you come to passive income. But why do you say that passive income doesn't really exist then?
Well, because even property, it's only passive when it's behaving itself. As soon as the actual model stops behaving itself, it stops becoming passive. So it's not truly passive. It's only passive for a period of time. And it wouldn't feel very passive if property prices suddenly plummeted by 50%. So I think nothing is passive permanently, and nothing that you want to build to something substantial is passive. I think it's impossible. I was talking to a friend recently. I say friend loosely. He's got no idea of business really at all, and he's a builder. He's an architect, but he's now a builder because he couldn't get any architect work. And he wants to build. His big dream is to build 8 teams of 10 people in each team. It could have been 10 teams of 8 people. Can't remember what exactly, because by this time my mouth was open, because he then was talking about going off and living in the Med and living off his income. I said, so you think that 80 people don't need any kind of managing then? And he said, well, each one would have a team. Okay, so now you've got 8 plus the 80, by the way, because it's still your responsibility. What about the 8? Oh yeah, but there'd be a 1. Right, so now you've got 88, you've got 89 people now, because you're not out of that loop. That's your income, your financial future. You've got to take responsibility for it. You're on a boat in the Med. One thing goes wrong, your business is, no more potentially. So it's impossible. And I think that Steve Jobs didn't sit down with his first ever Apple Mac and go, do you know what? I could make a passive income out of this this baby here. I think I can just go and do my gardening and the money will just come rolling in.
Yeah, no, I think it's pretty much nonsense. And I think if you look at, that was my only, I quite like the 4-Hour Work Week as a book. It's very inspiring, and Tim Ferriss made some very good points. But really, he never lived it. I mean, he's never been a passive income guy. And I don't know how much his supplement, the whole book was based on the fact that he made money out of this supplement. But ultimately, that's not going to last very long, because if you're being passive, somebody will come along who doesn't mind being active. And the active person is going to beat the passive person. And,
you're absolutely right.
And so they're going to make more money than you, and then you're going to be out of the market and you're going to be destroyed by that. Because there's the reason why my approach is you have to actually be excited by what you're doing, which is the point of this wonderful book that you recommended, which is that you can't. It's very difficult to compete against somebody who loves what they does or who's excited about what they do, because they're going to do more of it. Because the things I read for fun and watch on TV for fun largely overlap with the things that that are to do with my business. They're so close together. So I'm doing effectively more hours than somebody else who is just trying to phone it in. And that will always be the case, but it doesn't feel like work when I'm, listening to a podcast or something.
I feel exactly the same. I can't honestly say, hand on heart, that to go into a £2 million house with a lake view, sit on their terrace and have a cup of tea with them for 2 hours, I'm not mining at the coalface. I'm not fixing roads. I'm doing something that I find inherently very, very enjoyable, and most people would. I think maybe what we should be talking about, if somebody does want that kind of business model, isn't passive income, it's recurring income, which is a whole different ballgame. So Firewave is recurring income. Now, a lot of agents that we teach, we being Phil and I, that we coach, have got lettings and sales. And the idea is that lettings pays, the bread and butter stuff. It's recurring. You get on average between 50 and sort of £80 per month for every let that you manage. And if you've got enough of them, you've got enough to build a little team, and it's good little recurring income, and it usually pays for all your overheads of your offices and etc. And then you add sales to it, and that is your profit. It's your new car. It's your holiday. It's your stamp duty if you decide to move. It's those kind of things. It's the added bonus. It's the fun bit, I think. Now, we chose not to do lettings because it's not financially viable here. So we need a recurring income. So we've got Firewave, which is a marketing agency. We could have very easily gone complete consultancy, complete unique work every time. But no, we went recurring. In no way or shape or form is it passive, but it is recurring and it's systemized.
I think you're right.
So it's a balance them both up.
That's what people want. They want to get out of this constant, particularly if often people get into internet marketing and then it sounds very exciting. And then you realize you're in this relentless launch thing, which kills you. And so they start thinking about passive income. But I think what they really mean is they want recurring income. So like you say, if you don't want to be continually slogging every day to make a bit of money, which is then gone and spent, if you're going to slog to make a sale, you want to make a sale that then continues paying you money as long as you're doing something good for people. So I think that's a really good distinction.
But I think if you have a recurring income business, I think something that probably you've seen this as well, John, is people think they can take their eye off the ball. I've got all this money coming in. It's great. So we've got a list of 60 clients, 65 clients on our wall in the other room, and each one is traffic lighted. So if they're green and they've got 2 ticks next to them, they've been spoken to or communicated with in the last couple of weeks, all is good, they're all fine. If they're amber, they've got a little warning sign next to them, speak to them in the next week or, check on them in the next month, whatever. And if they're red, we're in danger of losing them. And the reason we're in danger of losing them is because they're not implementing what we've taught them. Not because we're failing, because they're failing, and that will ultimately result in us failing. So if we pay attention, so out of 60, we've got 5 red clients. We pay attention to those, our retention will go up. So that's what I mean is it's not passive, but it is recurring, but we still need to keep putting our effort into it every month to make sure it's bigger and better every month than it was the month before.
That's a brilliant idea. And I love it. We're developing this now for people on the Pioneer program. We've got a student database, and our purpose really is to create a dashboard that shows us whether people are falling behind. Because what we found in the past is you wouldn't always catch that somebody had just quietly disappeared, and then the frustration is we can help anybody, we can fix anything, but occasionally one or 2 people would just sort of go quiet, and then they would feel ashamed of not keeping up, or there'd be something going on in their head, and then at the end they go, they'd slink away and they wouldn't have got anything. It'd be really frustrating because we could have helped them. So now what we're doing is we, in a similar way, trying to do a kind of traffic light system where we're thinking, okay, is this person progressing well or not? And then catch them before it goes too far and just go, where have you gone? Are you hiding? Because that's really the way people self-sabotage. And in the same way that your clients, will get overwhelmed and don't keep up and aren't really using the content you're giving them. So I'm trying to think.
Exactly the same. And do you know what? Let me just tell you as well, gyms should do this. Why do gyms sell us a membership, give us a crappy induction, and then just let us fall off the face of the earth and then cancel or try and cancel in a year's time? Yeah, no, that's a really good idea. It's such a simple thing to do. And it made me occur because somebody was saying, maybe somebody came from you, I don't know, but somebody was on the 5-day challenge. I think it may have been somebody who joined the Pioneer program. And, but I can't remember if it was or not. But it was somebody who was saying, I was thinking of starting a service. It might have been a state agency, but I'm aware there's a lot of competition. And I said, but what you got to realize is, it's a letting agency. So management. Pass them my way. Management. It was management. So it was managing lettings. And I said, look, here's the thing. I had Martin Gerard managed my property that I own. Then I switched to Purple Bricks. And now here, because I rent here, I have a managing agent here who I pay. Every single one of those 3 people have been utterly, utterly useless. So what you have to remember is that in some industries, the bar is so low. I mean, if you're a plumber, it's so low.
If you're a plumber, if you turn up on time and do what you promised, charge what you said you were going to charge, be nice while you're there, and then clear up before you leave, you're already in the top 1% of plumbers. Maybe not in Germany.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
Maybe not in Germany, because I hear there's a totally different experience over there. But
maybe you have to try harder in Germany. The bar is higher. But you can always get over the bar, always.
Yeah, right.
You're never going to be at the top.
Yeah, and by this traffic light system.
Whether you're Tiffany's or Savoy, you are never at the top. There is always somebody. I mean, what did the Savoy think when, I don't know, the Dorchester opened, or, where what's that one in Dubai is called? That was 7-star hotel. We used to think the 5 was the top, and now there's a 7. Yeah. You wait till somebody brings out an 8 or a 9 or a 10. Yeah. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the question I wanted to ask you is, what drives you? Are you are you trying to get rich? I asked you earlier, I said, like, are you rich yet? And you went, I'm getting there. It was something like that.
I will be. And I said I will be, which is different from getting there. Yeah. No, I don't. So I don't believe in a pension, and I don't believe in property for investment, because I didn't buy 20 years ago and still, sitting on that now. I don't have that. So my businesses are my pension. So particularly recurring income businesses are much easier to sell. And I have always had that in my mind with Firewave, because I can't sell Sam Ashdown coaching because I'm not selling me. And I probably can't sell Ashdown Jones, the estate agent, even if I ever wanted to. But I can sell Firewave, that is a recurring income business with systems and processes. So I know that's not the answer to your question, but if I can be assured of my financial future, then I can do whatever I like in between. And talking about your book, Screw Work, Let's Play, that's what I feel like I'm doing. I feel like I'm playing. Like business is a game. And as long as everybody in the game is happy and there's no losers, then I'm going to continue to play. And I can do that because I've got the financial future secure. Whereas a lot of people are trying to play now and they don't have the financial, future secure. So that's the difference, I think, between me and maybe somebody who is thinking that they just want to just pursue their passion. If painting flowers all day is their passion, they think they can do that and they'll make a fortune. And that may not be the case. So you've got to be pragmatic about what earns you income. That's why I love your book. What earns you income and what's your passion, and do the two genuinely cross or do they not? Because so my passion is consumer psychology, and with marketing that is an explosive mix, because I know what marketing makes people take action, because it's consumer psychology. And I could literally read books on consumer psychology all day long, and to me that would be all my playing time. I learned that I could do better in business, I can earn more money. But if my hobby was painting flowers, I'd need something else. I'd need an income.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, art is always, because I've written a bit about this, and it's always a challenge making money from art. Although I just read an interview with Damien Hirst this morning that was hilarious. It's on. I'm going to email it out in my newsletter, I think. But he had like a weekend where his financial person said to him, well, it's another double lottery rollover weekend, Damien, which meant he'd made £30 million that weekend between Friday and Monday. And guess what? He still managed to sell it. He still managed to spend it. So,
my God, how do you spend that much money?
Well, what he said was when he shopped for an accountant, I was going to write a newsletter about this. When he shopped for an accountant, he basically said, I'm looking for a creative person who wants to work in a creative environment. And he goes, I now realize I shouldn't have done that. I need a boring person who loves numbers. Because he kept hiring these creative accountants who really weren't doing the job. They just wanted to be with Damien Hirst. And they wanted to be in their studio where millions of pounds are being made, and they weren't really watching his money. So, which I thought was very funny. I think that's a really good point about passion. Sometimes the two can come together, and I've got a client at the moment who could do a very practical coaching thing. He's got a passion about nature, and he's a great photographer. And he lives in a sort of location-independent way. I think those come together because the kind of coaching he wants to do is to coach entrepreneurs who want to have a bigger life, which means not just working. And like like you've just said, what you want to get out of this is a kind of, a retirement strategy. And other people have all sorts of plans. My dream would be to be able to buy a really nice flat in the centre of London, overlooks the water, has a great balcony, and unfortunately, it's looking like it's going to cost somewhere between £2 and £4 million. And so, if there's there aren't really many other things I want from an expensive lifestyle. I've got a car I already like. I've got, I don't know what else. I can always find things to spend money on because I like gadgets. But you wouldn't have to own it though. The cost of ownership and the cost of renting are two different things. Because you
could attain that. You could attain it more easily than trying to save up £4 million, John.
Okay, so because you often recommend renting over buying, even though you run an estate agency,
I run an estate agency, because when we sell a £2 million house overlooking the lake, there is no. There's no financial justification for that, especially when it's a second home or third home. That is a complete 100% emotional purchase. You can't justify that on any spreadsheet anywhere. I'm sorry, it just doesn't exist. So if I was buying with my heart, I would go ahead and buy. But unfortunately for me, I have got a very, very strong left brain, and it says, no, don't throw your money away on buying, for goodness sake. I honestly believe buying is dead money and renting is fluid money, which is the opposite way around to what most people think.
That's interesting. So what I need to do then is I need to work out what the rental cost is per month.
That's all you need to do. That's all you need to do, yeah.
Have a recurring income like you've built.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, there you go.
Yeah.
No.
I'll tell you what else you could do as well. You rent 3, you Airbnb 2. You use the profit from the 2 Airbnbs to fund yours.
Is that
obviously
allowed?
with permission? With permission, of course it is.
Yeah. Okay. Right. See, this is what I like.
Yeah. See, this is what we would do here. In fact, it's kind of what we are doing. So we would approach somebody who's got a house for rent for £1,000 a month and go, do you know what? We'll give you £1,250. Sign us up for 3 years. Let us change your kitchen and your bathroom and your carpets. We'll rent it out for £3,000 a month on Airbnb. Everybody's happy. You could do exactly the same and use the Airbnb income to pay for your primary income, and then you're living rent free.
Okay. I like that. I think we'll have to have a further discussion about this offline. And now suddenly my dream.
Plenty of companies that are doing it, but they're kind of doing it under the radar where, it's not widely known. But as long as you can find a landlord that is a bit more open-minded, is absolutely fine. Yeah. There's a really good company called London Shared. Slightly different business model, same idea though. So same financial model, just a different way of doing it. So they rent properties on a 3-year lease from private landlords, usually family homes, turn it into a house where maybe you used to have 4 bedrooms and they've now got 6. And they pay for all the, changes and furniture and all the rest of it. And they stick 6 professional sharers in. And then they bag the profit.
Right.
Takes them, I don't know, maybe a year or 2 to make the profit. And then everything after that, they're quids in.
So I think maybe I'll do a little shopping online today. Hey, do you do any of that kind of affirmation stuff of like, this is, or vision board? You don't do any of that?
No, I'm not woo-woo one bit. Don't even go there. I don't need an affirmation. I just know I can do it. Forget that. No. Do you know what? I think I was brought up in a very empowering household where I genuinely thought, and I don't know if anybody ever said it, but I thought I'd do anything. In fact, when Margaret Thatcher became the first woman prime minister in 1979, I was thoroughly pissed off because I thought that was going to be me, but I was only 13, so I couldn't do much about it. In fact, I wasn't. I was 11. Just don't want you to add any more years onto my already, aging age. So, and then when I was 13, somebody swam the channel. I'm like, that's the youngest person who ever swam the channel. I can't do. So I was constantly trying to be the first or the best or whatever when I was growing up. And it didn't occur to me I couldn't do it. I honestly, the first time that I was told I couldn't do something was I failed my driving test. I'm like, what's this all about? How I can't fail? I wasn't even a high achiever. I just assumed. I was probably a little bit arrogant, in fairness, but it gave me a confidence to be able to tackle anything I wanted to. So even though I've got, a co-owner of 6 businesses now, I started my first business when I was 15, 16, no, maybe 16, 17. It never occurred to me that you shouldn't have your own business. I didn't really want a job for the rest of my life.
What was your first
I've
business?
I've always worked incredibly hard.
Yeah, well, that is a key part of it, yes. And that's the impression I get. So what was the first business that you worked hard on?
I had a pet food round.
Right.
So I blame my dad for this, who's no longer with us, but I went to university, well, it was college at the time in Lincoln. I went to the tech hall there as it was and went for a job in a bar and was told I could have it. And it was very hard work for very little pay. And my dad said, no, you don't want to do that. Find out what people don't like carrying from the supermarket and deliver it to them, which is just genius, really. So we came up with 2 things, potatoes, which were heavy to carry, and pet food, which were equally heavy to carry. So there was actually a pet food supply company, a big cash and carry place in Lincoln, and I realised that I could charge 68p and buy it for 34. So nice markup there, even without a calculator. So I went around and knocked on a load of doors in this housing estate and said, do you have a car or a dog? And it was simple as that. And I was making between £60 and £100 a week profit. And I was, 17 years old on a moped in the dark. And my first winter at uni, at tech, and knocking on doors in the rain. And so that's what I mean by working hard. It was the kind of no excuses zone, I would call it. I just did it anyway.
Yeah.
And my parents just supported me all the way through.
I love that. I think that's brilliant. You said something slightly early, a little bit early on. You just sort of alluded to some online, I don't know what, trolling or controversy, or at least people, when you announced, I think, your own estate agency, I'm not sure what it was, and and some people said, yay, go for it, and some people said nasty things. Have you seen, I've been interested in this recently, have you seen people attack you, and do you come in for trolling? Because I think this is a big fear for people when they start out being more visible, particularly if they start putting stuff on social media, but they're going to get trashed by somebody. Has that happened?
So what? Why do you care what other people think anyway? I mean, unless it's my grandma, I'm not going to care what they think. But yeah, it's always going to happen. But, the first month in business, Phil went and knocked on the door of a house that was for sale with a rival that was about £1 million, which was pretty brave of him at 25 years old. Knocked on the door and said, can we help in any way? Unfortunately for him, the guy that owned the house played golf with the owner of the estate agent that is our competitor. So next thing we know, we get a snotty email from this guy saying, how dare you try and steal my clients? I've seen your fees on your website, and I'm going to look forward to, undercutting you every opportunity. And how dare you? All you have is a laptop and confidence. We're like, oh, what else is there? And now we've been so much more successful than him in the last 3 years. We've taken off him so many large houses, even though he's got a cheaper fee. So, the revenge is very sweet. But the point is, Phil at the time was under the table, shaking, like, oh my God, I've had an email, nasty email. I'm like, he's noticed us and he considers us a threat, and we've only been open a month.
And
we should frame it.
And really interesting point. His only retort was to drop his prices. And he thought, oh, okay, hello.
Oh, that'll work. Yeah, that'll work. I'll do that. I've been in business for 40 years, so dropping the prices is obviously going to work. Yeah. Hilarious. So no, if you call it trolling if you want, but to me, it's just, it's other people's business. Other people's business is all about their own insecurities. When they say, who do you think you are? They actually mean, who do we think I am? I can't do that. But you've got to have the confidence of your convictions to get through that. If you've got a problem with that, read inspirational autobiographies, read, Goggins, and read, Nike, Phil Knight, and read Dyson, and read Branson. They've all been trolled, whatever they called it in 1962, probably not trolling, but, they've all been told no multiple times, and they did it anyway. If you need that inspiration, take it from somebody else. Take it from somebody else's story, because however bad your story is, I tell you what, it's not as bad as David Goggins, is it? Yeah. I mean, there's people out there that have succeeded with a lot less than you've got right now.
Yeah. David Goggins was we saw him. We both were at an event. We saw him speak live. It was what's his name's event? Nick James's event, wasn't it? And
Nick James, Expert Empire.
Yeah, and he was very engaging, actually, quite humorous. I liked him. His autobiography, which is particularly good on audio, people say, is I've recommended it to a few people, even though I haven't listened to the whole thing. Is very inspiring, and he went through hell and back to achieve what he achieved. So no, I like that. I think that's good advice, and I think also people should realize that usually at the beginning, it tends to get worse as you become bigger profile. So
maybe get a bit of thicker skin though as you get a bigger profile. That's right. What you need to grow thick skin alongside it.
Yeah, I know. I can't imagine anything somebody could say to me now that would really cause me an enormous amount of trouble. I don't know if there's something out there waiting when I have it, but I know myself fairly well, and I'm fairly evolved. And sometimes when I put something out, I think, what's the worst someone could say? And I think of it, and then I go, yeah, if they said that, that's okay.
If they said that's okay, yeah. It's, what's the big deal? And it's their issue, not yours. I think probably as entrepreneurs, the biggest danger we've got is when we start becoming successful. because I think your ego comes to the fore. And I remember reading a book about ego. It's the Eckhart Tolle one. Is it A Whole New Earth or something? Whole New World, something like that. It's a bit woo-woo for me, but I got the idea. And the idea is that your ego is always there to try and protect you. So when somebody phones you and says, well, why should I use your services? Your ego comes forward and opens its big fat mouth and starts going, because I've done this and I've done this and I've done this and I've done this. And that is your biggest danger. Whereas what you should be doing is saying to that person, well, I don't know if I'm right for you. So let me ask you some questions, which is, you grow into that maturity, but it's very easy to be very defensive and for that ego to become your big enemy. So it becomes the big thing in the room.
And that's actually the good, what real sales is. Sales is asking questions and understanding people and listening. You've been on Matt Elwell's sales course, which we both did the intro to. Is that how he teaches, or is it all about closing?
Yeah, he does. He teaches powerful questions. Okay, no, he doesn't really. I would say that he's really good at powerful questions, and I think underneath it all is you've got to have, and it sounds a bit woo-woo, but you've got to have the feeling that you need to serve. So when an estate agent phones me up and says, I'm struggling to do such and such, I've got to unpack that. I've got to be like, a detective and go, hang on, struggling to do this. What does this mean then? So let's say they're struggling to get through the door of, properties in their area. Well, what does that mean? What are you doing? Why do you need to get through the doors? What are you charging? What's your end game? What do you want to do? How do you feel when you're in front of them? There's a million questions I want to ask them. And then by the time we've got to all that, it's a bit like a doctor. You go into a doctor, you go, my foot hurts. And they go, well, there's some ibuprofen. See you. But what they don't know is your foot is attached to something else that is caused by something else and something else. So a good doctor will obviously ask lots of questions. If you've got a service to sell, you've got to expect some people are not a good fit for your service, or they need something slightly different, and you've got to recognize that. That's where I think bad salesmen get the bad rap, because they try and sell something that doesn't fit or doesn't work for that person. So it's about asking powerful questions. And I don't know if you've heard of the Toyota 5 whys, have you? So you ask 5 whys. So why is a very confrontational question. But let's say you said to me, right, I'm an estate agent and I want to make more money. And I would say, why do you want to make more money, John? And you'd say, oh, because I want to go on holiday all the time. Well, why do you want to go on holiday? And eventually the last why would be because I hate being an estate agent, maybe. And so I've got to bear that in mind when I'm trying to sell you something about being a better estate agent.
Yeah, that's really good. I've heard that one. About 5 whys. That's very powerful. Okay, well.
The book actually, Toyota Way, I think.
Oh, is it? Yeah, Toyota Way. I haven't read that thing. So that's been really interesting. If people want to know more about you, Sam, where should they go? Since you've got about 14 websites.
Come and see me in Windermere. Yeah, because the best place is on Facebook. Send me a Facebook friend request. I will accept anybody and everybody. Trolls, enemies.
Really?
Competition, I don't care. I'll just accept them all into my lovely family. Send me a friend request on Facebook. That's my home. That's where I live. If you want to do it on LinkedIn, that's fine. Just be aware that the welcome message you get has nothing to do with me. It's everything to do with my lovely assistant. And it might not make any sense for you. So send me a personal message and we can actually have a conversation. But I like people to reach out to me in a real way, without a copy and paste. And I like to have a real conversation. And as long as they have piqued my interest, I'll answer any questions for them.
Oh, good. Yeah, no, you've been very helpful for me. I remember you helped me a few years ago with webinars or something like that. Yeah, it's very good.
I did, but you helped me. That was actually repayment for a conversation that me and you had where you were telling me about, and I forgot what it's called now, that strengths wheel thing.
Wealth dynamics. Yeah.
Wealth dynamics, which I find fascinating. That was the first conversation we had. I was walking through Euston. And you were chattering away to me. I thought, this guy really knows his stuff and he's really helpful. He doesn't even know me. So I really appreciate that.
Right. Good. Well, hopefully we'll be able to meet in person before too long.
I want to come kayaking with you, or I want you to come kayaking with me on Windermere, which would be slightly more interesting maybe.
Well, it's very
maybe
inspired.
Not. I like the look where you go.
Yeah, Dan Meredith does, who we saw also at that event with Nick James, who I thought was very entertaining. He did this thing called, I forgot, jet ski coaching. So he says, come and spend the day with me in Brighton. This when he lived in Brighton. And he's got 2 jet skis, presumably, or maybe he rents them. And we'll spend the day together and we'll jet ski, and I will work on your business with you. It's like it's 1,500 quid or something like that at the time. And I thought, what a brilliant idea. And I thought maybe I could do kayak coaching. So maybe there's some sort of thing. I could get a two-seater kayak.
I'll put it out there. I'll do fell walking coaching.
Yeah,
I'll charge 1,500 quid, and you can buy me lunch, and we'll walk up some fells together, and we'll just smash out all the problems in your business. I've just decided. There you go. Business number 7.
That would be a bargain for 1,500 quid. I tell you, that would be. No, it'd be people get an enormous amount out of it in a day spent with you. My fear is I wouldn't be able to survive the day of fell walking.
You wouldn't be able to speak.
No.
That's the problem. You wouldn't be able to. You just have to listen, which is actually quite good for me. I'll just talk at you for a couple of hours up a hill.
I'll bring my assistant. He can fell walk with us, and he can just write everything down. Well, I'm going numb and nodding.
And try not to expire.
The first time I went kayaking, it felt like I was doing no exercise at all, and the next day I could barely move. In fact, when I got home, I couldn't lift up my cup of tea. Because
it does happen. It's true.
Just like what muscles are they? But anyway, I'd broken them.
Well, it's muscles you don't use. That's the problem. So you don't feel that it's hard, but it is actually hard. I love kayaking, but when you kayak on Windermere, well, any of the lakes, and you guys surrounded by the mountains, it's just a sense of being so present in that moment. It's just an amazingly powerful feeling.
It is.
I get my best ideas when I go out on the hills.
Even on the canal, which is not quite as romantic, but it's still rather nice. There's something about just being right next to the water, and that you're at duck level, because there's a lot of wildlife around the canal here. And there's something very calming immediately. There's lots of people running and cycling down the towpath and swearing at each other for doing so. And then, but when you're in the water, suddenly it all seems very calm. So maybe the kayak
You're in a different
coaching,
world. And I think the thing is with the towpaths is they travel, aren't they? Whereas kayak is about being, and I think that, I really envy you. And I'd love to kayak through a city. I think that would be an amazing experience. I think it's fantastic. And I'm sure you get loads of great ideas in your kayak. I love it when you do the kayak lives, and then
this is the Facebook live from a kayak.
Dogs jump in next to you, absolutely brilliant.
And then it turns out that a friend of mine on Facebook knew that, because he's got a dog, and he knows everybody who owns a dog in London apparently, and he goes, "Oh, that's Stephen with Fluff or whatever the dog's name was." I said, "Well, send him the video and tell him not to do that again." This dog jumped in right behind me.
Closer to you.
I nearly threw my phone out of the kayak. It was shock because there was suddenly this huge splash.
Oh, I have to tell you this very quickly. I went out for a run on Sunday morning with a friend, obviously socially distancing, and we were running through this field. And because I was chatting with her so much, this is just me all over. I forgot to put my dog on a lead. Next thing I know, dogs chasing sheep, farmers driving down through the field. It's all going, wrong. And little tiny lamb. My dog won't touch them, but he will chase. He loves chasing. He's a sheepdog, so he thinks he's rounding them up, but he's not very good at it. So they just run away from him. So this little tiny lamb, little black lamb, looks a bit like a billy goat, decides to throw itself into the river that's alongside the side of this field, which is a 10-foot drop off a wall. So there's me thinking that, the lamb's dead. Look over, no, it's swimming across the other side with an equally impenetrable bank. Yeah. So because the farmer's coming, I think, oh my God, what am I going to do? I have to jump into the river,
really,
fully clothed, up to my waist, wade across the river, pick this flipping lamb up that doesn't deserve to be rescued probably, wade back again, try not to fall over in all my running gear. It's raining. It's like some hell and brimstones. Pass this lamb to this livid farmer that I've then got to pacify. And then he just walks off, and I can't get out of the flipping river.
Really?
And then I have to run for 5 miles for my penance in the storm, soaking wet, because it was my fault that my dog chased the lamb.
Wow.
There you go. That's what it's like. So that's my equivalent of your kayak cast here in the Lake District.
Yeah. Well, I hope you start doing retreats up there, because it's beautiful.
I'll just do a retreat for me and you, John.
Yeah.
Just retreat up to the Lake District when you can. We'll just do that, and we'll go for a big pub lunch.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, that bit I like. Okay, all right. So if people want to find you, look on Facebook or LinkedIn for Sam Ashdown.
Yeah.
And
Sam Ashdown on Facebook or LinkedIn. Yeah.
That's been brilliant. And I'm sure they can find from LinkedIn, or your many businesses will be linked on there anyway if they want to find out about those.
They will be, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
Cool.
Ask, yeah.
Well, thanks very much, Sam.
It's been my pleasure. It's been good fun. Have we actually been podcasting? I've just been chatting, chit-chattering away as usual.
I wrote down a list while you probably heard me typing of really key things that you said that we're going to mention.
Oh, God. Did I say them? You have to tell me what they are then, because I don't know what I said.
Yeah. Well, you told me how to get my dream house without buying it. So that sounds quite good.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go. That's your big takeaway.
Yeah. No, it's great. Cheers. I love it.
Thank you.